And one of the things that I like to point out is this is Kevin O'Leary. You know, he's one of the most obnoxiously repulsive people on television, if you watch Shark Tank. The last person you'd want to do a deal with, I'm sure. And he has about 50 companies, and the companies that are making money, in fact, it appears the only companies that are making money are led by women. And they're in all different kinds of industries. So it's not just women industries. So why is that? Well, Bain & Company do the same thing. This is the private equity side of Bain. And they looked at companies led where there were a lot of women at the top or led by women, and they found that they were outperforming the companies that were led by men or that were male-dominated. And they hired some psychologists, and they interviewed the women, and they came up with this finding that women exhibited 4 kinds of intelligence more than men. Now, by the way, when I'm talking tonight about men and women, I'm talking in stereotypes. And the stereotypes I'm talking about apply to about 2/3 of men. 2/3 of men are blue-brained. I'm going to use that term. And about 85% of women are generally pink-brained. So that's how the stereotypes work. I'm not talking about every single man or every single woman or your experience with every single man or every single woman. I'm talking about what the data says in general. So what the Bain data says is that women have better contextual intelligence. And they use that term because what they were saying is that women understand the big picture, the forest and the trees at the same time a lot better. They understand interactive effects. They understand that if we make this decision today, a year from now we're not going to be able to make that decision, and so on and so forth. So they are able to keep more factors in their head at the time when they're making decisions. The second kind of operational intelligence, I find this a lot with the tech companies I work with. Operational intelligence is knowing how many people, what resources, and how much time it'll take to get a project done, which is really critical in companies today because we're full of projects. So in a tech company, if you were doing an engineering project, let's say software engineering, and they asked a young male hotshot engineer, say, okay, we have this team, but there's a project, what do you need? And the male engineer comes back and says, I need 6 engineers, I need 6 weeks, and I need $60,000. Then they go to a female engineer who's never led a project. She's been second about 6 times, but never led a project. And they ask her, and she says, I'll need 10 engineers, I'll need 10 weeks, I'll need $100,000. So if you're in charge of making that decision, what are you going to do? You know, this is why women don't get ahead, right? You're going to go with a guy. He's rough and tough. Inevitably, this is what happens. Now, this is research by Zenger Folkman. I'm not making this up, or it's not coming out of my anecdotal experience. This is what happens, is that project ends up getting derailed because there was too little research. Because really what happened is the operational intelligence wasn't good, and everything was assumed by the engineer that it would be perfect. But nothing's perfect. So now it's 15 weeks later, the project's in trouble. They've got 20 engineers, and they've already spent $200,000 on it. They're trying to finish it up. Everybody's working weekends and staying up at night. And finally, they finish the project, over budget, de-scoped. But they finish it, and they're just heroes. And everybody's just, wow, man, you guys are working so hard. And they forget that the woman engineer at the beginning said, it's not going to be that. It's going to be this. Now, a woman asked me, she said, boy, that happens all the time in my company. What do you do about that? What you do about that is measure it. In other words, you document the fact of how long you say this is going to take, and then if you're not chosen to do it, then you come back afterwards and you compare what you said with what happened and said, next time, why don't you go with somebody who knows what the hell they're talking about? All right, by the way, if you want to know about operational intelligence, just plan a vacation with a man. Ask him if he's ready to go. You'll know what I mean. Relational intelligence is exactly what I mean. Relational intelligence is understanding the dynamics of a team, how do people keep people engaged, motivated, and so forth. Emotional intelligence is the ability to change the way you interact and respond to people in order to build trust and influence. That's how it applies to business. Now, sometimes I'll run into a person, usually male, who says, just the way I am. Just deal with it. Okay? And somebody says that's an emotional idiot. It's not okay. It doesn't work. But these are the intelligences that women tend to excel at. So you can see in a modern world that that's really needed. Because males are really good at achieving a certain type of success.